What's up guys? In this video, we're going to explore, do you learn poker best from playing or studying? This topic should be of interest to all poker players, as you should all be looking to be improving, learning, and finding ways to optimize your approach to learning this very complex, hard to solve, infinitely complex game of poker. Now, this isn't going to be about the optimal ratio of grinding to studying hours. Obviously, you'll be splitting your time between those two variables. If you want to know how to create the optimal grinding to studying schedule for yourself, I'll put a video up here on how to come up with a system for yourself. But today we're going to focus on just learning. How do you learn the game of poker? Now, it's almost split into two camps, or you have two types of players if you take them to the extremes. One type of player, who could be a very good, very successful, high-stakes player, will mainly play poker. Most of their learning comes from volume. All right, I'll talk about why this is. And they play a lot. Volume, 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 repetition, repetition. Another type of player will study a lot. They'll have a high percentage of their hours towards studying, and they'll play alongside that. But studying is a big, big part of their getting better phase. All right, they make money when they play, and they study to get better. All right, so which one is more effective? All right, now, basically, you've got to understand there's two types of players. All right, there's probably infinite types, but for today, we're going to talk about two types of players because it's really important to know which of them you are. So first of all, we have the creative, intuitive players. All right, creative, intuitive, more field-based players. And then secondly, we have the more logical people who like systems. They like to know how things work. They like to be taught why things work in a certain way. All right. Now, to highlight these two extremes, I'm going to use my example of when I first started my poker career. I was living with two other poker players, and they were very creative. All right, they're very creative, where I was very logical. All right, this is back in 2012, where there's no solvers, and in the first year of playing poker, they were picking up really quickly. They were coming up with exploits for their opponents. Win rates were going through the roof. They were just picking up the game really easily using their intuition, their feel, and as soon as the opponent did something, they'd almost instantly know, I'll exploit this by doing this. Myself, I was on the other end of the spectrum, and I'm more of a logical person. I like to know how things work. So for me, when players were doing weird stuff, I was like, I don't know why they're doing it. I had no system to follow. I was just trying to do what my friends were doing and figure out on the fly. And in all honesty, the first year, I sucked. I wasn't very good at it. And I almost made the assumption, I suck at poker. I can't learn this game as well. However, I was smart enough, or I had enough of my ego in check enough to basically ask my friends how they were playing. So when they were doing stuff, they would come up with these strategies on the fly, and I would just go, why do you do that? And I remember one conversation where he was talking about an opponent putting a bet in on the river, and they were doing a big raise in size. And I was like, why do you do that big raise on the river? And I remember my friend was saying, oh, well, his range is really capped, and my range isn't capped. I've got all the value hands, so he should fold, almost always. And I remember I was thinking, wait a second, stop for a second. So if my opponent's range is capped and mine's not capped, if I bet big, he should fold. And they was like, almost like, of course, that's how it works. But in my mind, I had no clue. I was trying to figure out this game. It was my first year of playing. I was like, I didn't know that. If you hadn't taught me that concept, I would have never came up with that myself. But they came up with that just intuitively knowing if they're capped, I can put aggression on here. I had no clue. So I need to always be asking, why do you do this? Why does it work? All right. So if you're a logical person, you need to know the whys, why it works in this way. You need to see solvers, or even better, because the solver will show you what to do. Conversations with players who know what they're talking about, who can explain concepts so you understand. And once you understand, you're great. You can go with that concept forever. All right. It reminds me when I was at school and I had a really good maths teacher who understood me and my learning style very well, and she would teach a concept, say algebra, on the board, and she would teach it the whole class in general terms. And my mind was always going, well, why does it do this? In this case, would that concept still work here? My mind always had unanswered questions. And she said to me, the teacher, Adam, if you have any problems, just put your hand up and I'll come to you and I'll teach you, I'll answer questions and basically teach you in more depth, all right? And she would do that. So she would teach an algebra equation. I put my hand in the air, and she'd come to help me. I go, Miss, how do you do, does this X mean this? Does this mean this? And she'd go, no, it doesn't work here. It works in this scenario. And basically she would teach me how it works. She spent 5 minutes with me. And I was like, oh, thank you, Miss, for that extra time. And she said, I know if I teach you this once you understand it, you'll be able to use that forever. You're good at understanding that. In and of itself, I don't know how she picked this up in me because I didn't know I learned this way. But if someone shows me what to do, they tell me the rules in a clear way, my mind can get on sync with that way of thinking. It's a system that applies to many concepts. I can do well with that. All right. So for me, I'm very good at learning that way. That's learning through logic and systems. So for me, I should study more. All right. And my approach to learning poker should be study heavy, not playing heavy. All right. On the flip side, my friends who were very good at intuition and solving the game could put in super high volume and get good at poker that way. All right. And this came to a head in my third year of poker, third and fourth year, with the first 2 years I did this. But basically, I made a big mistake in my approach to poker because I went for Supernova Elite volume whilst I was playing the mid stakes. And this was a big error because, as I've just told you, I generally learn through studying, through basically going over systems or to having conversations, and I need time away from poker to get into concepts. My friends, going for high volume was great for them because they were learning on the fly. And I remember after the first year of going for Supernova volume, their win rates kept edging up because they were learning through playing, and mine just flatlined. It actually went down at the end when I increased my volume. But I remember just going, God. And again, at this time, I was like, do I suck at poker? Like, am I just not built for putting high volume? What's going on? But in reality, I just didn't understand myself well enough. I was someone who would do better by putting more of my time into studying. All right, so an ideal framework, rather than doing 10 hours of grinding for Supernova Elite and half an hour studying, I should be doing at least an hour and a half of studying and then less grinding time. All right, so for yourself, both can work. You want to understand, am I a logical thinker who needs systems and processes, who needs to know how things work? If you do, then your time spent studying will be highly, highly effective, and you'll be able to learn poker better through studying, or at least putting good proportion of hours into studying, or at least good quality hours. And if you're somebody who is very creative, very intuitive, yes, you're going to want to study. Yes, you're going to do well through studying, but you've got an edge on playing. All right, you'll learn from playing. You get some players who just almost never study, never touch a solver, but their mind's always computing. It's always fixing, it's always solving the problem on the fly. If you're one of those players, you can get away with studying less. You probably don't even need to touch solvers that much unless you're playing super high stakes. And yeah, you need to understand that, stay in your lane. All right, so that the main kind of goal of this video is to go, am I a logical person who needs systems and be shown how to do stuff? Awesome. Spend more of your time getting answers and understanding the mechanisms, how things work. Or are you someone who is very creative on the fly? Awesome. Don't listen to the guys telling you to use solvers and study more. You use your creativity and intuition, and you study to check in that your instincts are correct. All right, so I find this a fascinating topic, whether it's learning poker or learning other things. Do you learn better through studying or playing? And it completely depends on your learning style. All right, so logical people, you guys study more. Creative people, you guys can get away with a higher playing time, especially early in your career. So the first 2 years of your career, for example, this is magnified because the creative people can start learning from day one. Logical people like myself have nothing I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't even know like simple concepts that you maybe should pick up just by playing poker. My friends certainly did. I was like, what do you mean? Like, I didn't understand simple stuff because no one had taught me. I had no concepts to hold on to. So if you're one of those people, spend more time understanding the mechanisms, how things work, why spots play the same way they do, and really condensing the knowledge base. All right, guys, both can work. Find the right ratio for you. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you smash that like button before you go, and there's going to be plenty more videos coming free very soon.